big sky, big potential. In association with Mills and Reeve, this is Eastern Promise. Achieving more together. Welcome to the Eastern Promise podcast, your audio guide to the best of Britain's most exciting and multifaceted region, the East of England. Think that's overwrought hyperbole? Then prepare to have your mind blown! Launched in September 2022, Innovate Cambridge seeks to define an inclusive, dynamic future for the greater Cambridge ecosystem. This week, Eastern Promise is dropping in on the Glasshouse, the fantastic new HQ of Innovate Cambridge, chatting with director Kathryn Chapman and board member Michael Anstey. Together, they'll be sharing how Innovate Cambridge will define this city's role as the most impactful and important innovation ecosystem in the world. I'm Mike Rigby. This is the East of England, and you join me as we profile Innovate Cambridge on this week's Eastern Promise. Last year, on the 23rd of October, people from across the Cambridge ecosystem made their way to the city's Guildhall for the second annual Innovate Cambridge Summit. In that room were many who've also featured on this very podcast, including Metro Mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, Dr. Nick Johnson, and the MP for Cambridge, Daniel Zeitner. Previous guest Lou Cordwell OBE had made her way down from the University of Manchester to update the audience on the two cities' exciting, far-reaching partnership. The Innovate Cambridge team set out their progress over the preceding 12 months. Spoiler alert, it's a substantial record of achievement, including their newly opened business hub, named the Glasshouse. Shortly, we'll be taking a tour of the Glasshouse in the company of Innovate Cambridge's own Lucia Buckman. And lastly came the Cambridge Pledge, a promise to commit a percentage of future wealth, which, when announced at the summit, was immediately taken up by ecosystem linchpin Sir Tony Kazarides. I have been profoundly impressed by Innovate Cambridge since I first heard about it, comprising, as it does, this strong moral dimension, alongside a clear direction of travel. So that's why I was delighted to be able to sit down with newly installed Executive Director Dr. Kathryn Chapman, alongside Innovate Cambridge Board Member Michael Anstey of Cambridge Innovation Capital.
Well, if you're walking down Station Road, you cannot miss this building, even at Christmas time, with all the lights up everywhere, because the Glasshouse is easy to see. The Innovate Cambridge logo is beaming out across the city from the first floor of Botanic House, which is where we are this afternoon with two very, very special guests. I am delighted that they're both here. It's Kathryn Chapman and Michael Anstey, two of the leading lights of Innovate Cambridge, which many of you listeners will have been to the various events around the city of Cambridge. In fact, we had one, when was that, Kathryn? It was the one we held in this very room before this transformation.
Oh, that would have been May, the breakfast one in May.
Was it May?
Yes.
Oh my God. You know, a lot of you, I can know a lot of you were here. People like Chris Bruce was here, Rachel Hales. I could just rattle off names and drop them willy-nilly. But the transformation is absolutely incredible from that May event. Kathryn, how's that been achieved? How have you sort of driven that forward in such a short space of time?
Well, I mean, firstly, we should thank Railpen for the space, because without their vision that this space, is dedicated space for innovation in Cambridge exists, and that we're really, really grateful for that. So Railpen helped with architects and others to design the space. But really, I think what's brought it to life is Claire Sutcliffe, the community director, who in a previous life was a designer, interior designer. So she's brought those skills to this space, and on the pictures on the wall highlight innovation in Cambridge, past, present and future. And then also we have made the space light, airy. It is the Glasshouse, and Claire's story behind the Glasshouse about helping companies to grow in the same way as the Glasshouses next door at Botanic Gardens are helping plants to grow is important. It's an important one, but no, it's beautiful space. It's being well used, and we're incredibly grateful to be here.
So Michael, for those people who perhaps from the rest of the region who aren't aware of what Innovate Cambridge is or what it does and it's doing and will go on to do, could you just perhaps give us first introduce yourself and then give us a pen picture of what Innovate Cambridge is for?
Happy to, Mike. So I am a partner at Cambridge Innovation Capital. CIC is a venture capital firm that invests solely in the greater Cambridge ecosystem. And our view is that in Europe, the most innovative, the most impactful companies are coming out of Cambridge, UK. And so we absolutely focus on this as a region to invest and back great entrepreneurs, great innovators to build fantastic companies. So that's the day job. Given our complete commitment to Cambridge, UK, it's in our interest to help this community, this ecosystem be the best it can possibly be, right? That's not altruism, that's quite self-serving. And so CIC in our culture is working closely with other stakeholders in the ecosystem and beyond to make this place great, right? The heritage of Innovate Cambridge was an idea between CIC, Cambridge University, and Cambridge Enterprise. And it was trying to move beyond the pub conversation that we've all had, which is, this is a great place, but, or if we could only do, X. And at an individual level, there is so much passion for this ecosystem. What's been lacking to date is a truly joined up effort to not just chat at the pub and sort of fantasize, but really come together as an ecosystem, as a community, and try to solve some of the big challenges to make us not only Europe's, but hopefully the world's leading innovation ecosystem. And so for the last 3 years, CIC and the University of Cambridge Enterprise has been chipping away at this. And this has been a classic approach of what is our vision? What do we want to be? What is the strategy to achieve that vision? What are the tactics to achieve that strategy? And so this is a classic framework that people use. And we've gone slow and steady to make sure we get the right buy-in, the right feedback from folks. And the transformative moment really is sort of what you started with the beginning is in May. It was really a handover from a few people driving this inside their desks to bringing on a proper team led by Kathryn to execute on the tactics that the community has determined to be the most impactful.
I can only salute, absolutely. People across the region will be familiar with exactly the conversations you're outlining down the pub or wherever when they sort of say, this would be even better if we could just X, Y, Z. But you've actually gone that one stage further. You've put your efforts behind it. You've actually got something here, physical. We're sitting in it. We know it exists. One of the things, Kathryn, perhaps you could tell me how you've achieved this or reflect on this in a way, but one of the things I took out from all the events that Innovate Cambridge events I've attended hitherto, is that what an inclusive vision it was. What I was going to say enveloping, but kind of a warm embrace of a vision. There is a place for everyone in this vision. This is not about the high dreaming, the ivory towers, the walled city. This is about not just making it better for us, making it better for everybody. How have you managed to do that? Because that's not as easy to do or obvious as it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the first thing to say is that I'm really delighted that message has come across, because it is a value that runs all the way through Innovate Cambridge does, the inclusive innovation piece, and the fact that innovation, economic growth here has to benefit all, it has to improve quality of life for all, and it's a really important part of the vision. I would say one of the ways of trying to do that is that actually everybody is on board. It's not been difficult because everybody, all of those 200 organisations are really on board with that. So whether it be through specific initiatives like the Cambridge Pledge, which Mike is incredibly passionate about, and actually, you know, delivered a lot of that himself before Sarah came on with the Greater Cambridge Impact Fund. But you know, this is about that basically people want to be inclusive, but they need mechanisms to enable them to be inclusive and to give back or to support. And the Cambridge Pledge is a really good example of that. There are various other initiatives around talent hubs, so making sure that apprentices are matched, so companies and apprenticeships and further education colleges and everything. We make an education ecosystem and an innovation talent pipeline so that we can actually succeed as an ecosystem. So, I mean, it's definitely a value throughout, but I think, you know, similar to what Mike said, is that there's also a real business need for this, right? Because the innovation ecosystems, when you look at them across the world, the best ones are the most equal ones, where you have the technical and vocational skills and talent to fill the jobs as much as you have the spin-outs and the academics and the deeply rich IP ecosystem as well. They are the best ecosystems. So actually that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming to be one of the best ecosystems in the world, and to do that we want to be the most equal, and to do that we need talent at all levels, and we need, you know, investment and infrastructure and all of the other things that will make this region the best region it can be. So there's a, you know, a value proposition, but also there is a business need to do that.
Well, you may have heard a lot about the Glasshouse, which is the home of Innovate Cambridge on Station Road. I'm looking out now and I can see all the traffic coming to and fro. We've got the Norfolk Street Bakery, there you go, as an East of England reference, just over the road here. And I'm sat in this beautiful, beautiful space, this warm, open, welcoming space with...
Hi, my name's Lucia Buckman, and I work here at Innovate Cambridge, and my role here is to just help turbocharge the growth that we're creating for Cambridge and the region and the wider UK.
Just give us a sense of why you've created this sort of specific feel, because there's lots of green everywhere, green plants. What's the ethos behind the kind of space you've created?
Yeah, so the name and the concept were designed by Claire Sutcliffe, and it was really created to be emblematic of the things that startups and innovators need to grow, you know, similar to a plant. And we also wanted to pay homage to the Botanic Gardens, which are right outside our window, which you can see when you visit. So we have lots of tropical plants, live tropical plants throughout the space, bright green walls. We also have a beautiful large wall of art and photos of major Cambridge innovators, local artists, and innovations that were generated here in Cambridge, really to inspire warmth and creativity.
Now tell me a bit about the space we're in now, because we're in this very comfortable seated area with excellent coffee and a sort of what I'd describe as a sort of unit with plants and magazines. Tell us about this bit that's over here, the other side of the units.
The other side of the units is actually where the team is based.
Oh, it's your offices, I see. So don't get any ideas if you're coming in. This is the Innovate Cambridge.
So it's a less exciting part of the space, but when you come into the space, there's room for about 75 people seated to be working or taking meetings. The space that we're sitting in right now is a private enclave with a sofa and 2 chairs with a great view out here to Hills Road and the Norfolk Street Bakery, and this space can be reserved for private meetings. We also have a boardroom that can be reserved for meetings more of the size of 16 to 20 people maximum, that has full AV capabilities. Then we have the full space, which we also use for events. You can have about 100 people standing for events. We have a projector screen, and we have a full bar setup.
Let's go and take a look. Well, obviously you listening at home can't see this, but we can, and we're going to describe it to you. So here we've got like an island, and I apologise for all the people in here who are trying to work talking through. So we've got this island where Kathryn Chapman, who you'll also hear on this podcast, Executive Director of Innovate Cambridge, is sitting working very hard, so we'll have to whisper slightly. But tell us about this island. What's this is sort of the welcome point, isn't it?
So yes, this is the welcome point. As soon as you come into the office, you'll be greeted here by somebody here at the front desk, and we'll have you sign in, register, and let us know if you have any guests coming in for the day. We also have gourmet coffee available,
It is
coffee,
gourmet.
espresso,
Gourmet.
hot chocolate, whatever you're interested in. Also some luxury teas. And we also, when we do events, set this up as a bar area. So this is where we have food catered or beverages, alcoholic, non-alcoholic beverages set up as well.
What a good idea. Every workplace should have one.
Yes.
So, in terms of membership, what do you do to become a member of Innovate Cambridge? How do you get involved? Asking for a friend, obviously.
Yeah, so we have an application on the Innovate Cambridge website. And what we're really looking to do at the Glasshouse is to create a community of people focused on innovation and really delivering for Cambridge. And for this end, the membership is primarily geared towards innovators and ecosystem leaders. And that could be founders or senior leaders of startups, businesses, investors, academics, or government who have innovation at the heart of what they do. So really, it's for anybody who has innovation at the heart of what they're doing. So we really encourage everybody to go to the website and apply there.
So I can think of tons of people across the ecosystem to whom that would apply. So yeah, definitely go on there, apply. If you don't, I'm certainly going to do it. Is there a cost involved, or is it?
There's no cost involved.
Well, I'm definitely going to do it then. You've teed me up very nicely to ask Michael about the Cambridge Pledge, which I am now going to do. Michael, tell me more.
So to me, the Cambridge Pledge is really personal, which is this is a privileged place to be in Cambridge. And if you're working in a fast-moving startup or a venture capital fund or a corporate, right, that is a privileged position. And without taking a step back and acknowledging how you got into that position and how the ecosystem put you in that privileged position, I think it's a real missed opportunity. And so the concept of giving back is not a new one, but being really deliberate about it, I think, is something that Cambridge lacks as a culture. And I'm making a huge generalization right now, but there's been a trend in the past, which is once you're successful, you put your name on a building. And that's one way to leave your mark on the ecosystem. I think as time goes on, new generations are less concerned about putting their name on a building, but more concerned about changing the world and leaving it in a better place. And if that is the way that Cambridge is going, that in itself is an innovation which we can be proud of. And so the pledge is different because this is not about asking people for money today. There's a lot of asks out there for money. Many of them are totally worthwhile, and this is not trying to displace that, right? This is not instead of, this is an and. What we're trying to do with the pledge is have those individuals that are investors, that are entrepreneurs, that are C-suites, or that are in any level of an organization commit now to sharing a small amount of their future profits. And so in the venture game, as you know, what tends to happen is money goes into a company, that company spends the money, that increases the value of the company through R&D and through innovations. Ultimately, there's a liquidity point, whether it's a merger and acquisition or an IPO, and that then creates wealth for those founders, those C-suites, and ideally the broader team. And if you can commit now to giving a small percentage of that future wealth, right, you can create huge impact. And the US has that right now with something called the Founders Pledge. That's generated $10 billion, right? It's a big number, right? Yeah. So if Cambridge can do a 10th of that, imagine what we could do with that. If we could do a 20th of that, imagine what we could do with that. And the thing that's innovative, just to say it one more time, is this is a commitment now for the future, right? You're not out of pocket. And so if everyone can sign up to the pledge, we could have a real difference around here.
Before we move on, is there anywhere people listening should go to find out about the Cambridge Pledge?
Yeah, there is a website, the Cambridge Pledge, so you can go directly to that website and find out more, and also get in touch directly with Sarah, who is leading on the pledge.
And the link will be in the show notes. And I would just add that one of the things that was striking was the number of people on stage at the last event in October this year, 2024, who immediately said, well, I'll do it. And I think that's a real testament to the vision.
That was cool because that was truly unscripted, right?
Yeah,
what we wanted to do is have the announcement that the pledge is going to happen, and have a representative from the different sort of stakeholder groups to react to it, and ideally say positive things. And usually in Cambridge, it's like, I like this, but, and here's my 10 questions, and how do I solve it? Actually, that was completely turned on its head by Tony Kuzariti, who said, cool, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so that was awesome. That was a nice moment.
That really was
and totally unscripted, which is nice.
I bet that was a bit of a jaw dropper, wasn't it? Like, oh.
Yeah.
And you didn't really expect that to happen, and it's like, oh, this might actually be something really, really special.
It was incredibly moving. I mean, Mike walked off the stage and said that was a sliding door moment. You know, it was another sliding door moment for Cambridge, and I think absolutely that's exactly what it felt like. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we've passed the summit. This year's summit at the Guildhall, and obviously this facility is now up and running, and very, very, very quickly. I'm amazed by that. Where are things standing now, Kathryn? What's Innovate Cambridge's sort of top of your in tray?
So I think we outlined at the summit the top 5 priorities for the next year. So as Mike said, we're moving into delivery and execution phase. So by next year, we hope to be able to come back and say, this is the impact that we have had over the last 12 months. So firstly, there's the Glasshouse, which we've talked about a little bit, but we're going to program the Glasshouse so that we can open up some of the initiatives, we can open up for breakfast, we can open up the network for people to be able to come in. So we're engineering serendipity here, but we're also trying to create the future here by having workshops on things like the Cambridge-Manchester partnership and inviting people in to come and feedback on that, but also other things like the Innovation Hub. What should the Innovation Hub look like? So almost like an ongoing open consultation process about the direction we're taking. And that's what the Glasshouse is for. We've currently got nearly 300 members in 2 weeks, which is just phenomenal. So if we carry on going at that rate, Railpen are going to need to kind of give us another floor here. Maybe Mills and Reeve have got something to say about that. But no, it's obviously taking off, which is great. And we've seen here already investor meetings, companies coming in, people meeting people that they haven't met before, and then that sort of turning into something in 2 weeks. So it's a real validation that this place was needed. So the Glasshouse is one thing. I think the other thing to say about the Glasshouse is it's an initial pilot to create a bigger business plan for the bigger vision, which is an innovation hub here in Cambridge on the scale of Station F. So that's about creating critical mass of new companies that we can build here in Cambridge to create those next unicorns, those next billion-dollar companies. So that's a second part. You look as though you want to intervene.
I was just thinking, actually, how incredible it's been in that what you're laying out all sounds challenging, demanding, as perhaps, as you would say it should be, I'm sure. But already sort of watching and observing from the sidelines, as it were, you've already shown this really clear path throughout every kind of event, and I wouldn't say I've been to them all, but every event I've been to, there's been a very clear path of, we are here, and now we're here. We were there, we did this, and now we're here. And that's sort of progressed over the last sort of, just 12 months. And that's incredible, Michael. I mean, how on earth are you going to keep it up?
Yeah, Kathryn has a big job ahead of her, of course. What we can't lose sight of is what the overall end goal is of Innovate Cambridge, and the end goal is around being the leading innovation ecosystem in the world. And one metric of that is around the scale and impact that the companies have that come out of this ecosystem. And so I'm not trying to suggest this all boils down to one metric, but an important metric is how many unicorns and ideally decacorns we create, right? And why are those good? Well, if they're doing exciting things like novel drugs and novel devices and novel breakthroughs in technology, those companies on their own will have great impact to make this world a better place, right? So the products they create are great on their own, but they're fantastic job creators, fantastic wealth creators for UK PLC, ideally, and the individuals within the ecosystem and beyond. And so if that is a goal, which is to create globally leading, category leading companies, right, then we've achieved what we're trying to achieve. And so we are going to start to track how many unicorns are created, and we're going to ideally create more decacorns in Cambridge. How does this link back to Innovate Cambridge? Well, not one of the tactics alone will deliver that, right? But if I paint a story of how this could play out, which is you've got this fantastic company that's developing product X, right? They need a great team on that. And we won't be able to serve these companies just with the local population. And so maybe you need to track someone from Europe to come and be involved in this business, right? That person may think of Cambridge as a sleepy academic town with a beautiful chapel at King's College, right? And so there's a rebranding we need to do that to make sure actually people realize that Cambridge is a really fast-moving, high-tech town, right? So there's a branding story there. That person may come and want to see a fantastic quality of life for them and their family, if they have a family and their spouse, so they have a spouse. And ideally the pledge creates this really sort of inclusive and wonderful place to live for everyone, right? Where is that person going to grow into, and that company becomes a massive company? Great, we've got the innovation hub that Kathryn's mentioned. So, I can paint the picture further and further and further, but the vision is, I hope, clear, which is all of these tactics that Kathryn is driving build up to something that's much greater than the sum of the parts, and more unicorns, more decacorns will be a fantastic outcome for the region, the country, the world, and that's what we want to achieve.
The primary purpose of the Glasshouse is to be a collaboration space and a meeting space for members and for the ecosystem. So the way that we have everything set up right now is we have about 10 different tables set up for people to have individual meetings. But if we were to have a large event in the space, we have this sound dampening curtain that we can close to allow a smaller event of maybe 30 people to take place on one side of the curtain, while we can still allow smaller meetings to be happening on the other side of the curtain. In terms of larger events, then we would leave the curtain open. If it's an event for about 100 people, then we would leave the curtain open and move all the tables and chairs out. And it's really a beautiful space that you can actually start to see some of the buildings from the university out the window, and you can actually see the botanic gardens to the left as well.
I mean, you can really see that botanic theme coming through, and the sort of plants that are everywhere. It's such a beautiful, relaxing, calming space. All these plants around, and we're just going to move on because I think this chap is wishing to wrap me in the sound dampening curtain while he's trying to work. And over to my right, we can see the legend that is Tabitha Goldstaub in a meeting. So again, we'll tread slightly carefully, but this artwork is fantastic. You've got the Cambridge sort of old railway style poster there. You've got some really fantastic microscopic artwork. Is that photography?
Yes.
Right, definitely. Lots of art and photos. And you talked about the photos of founders here. So let's have a look, and we can see. Oh, there's almost like a family photos here. We've got the aforementioned Kathryn Chapman, Luke Cordwell, also been a guest on Eastern Promise podcast, as with John Holden. Also, Dermot O'Brien there, who hasn't yet, but his time will come, I'm sure. Tony Kazaridis. Why is it so important to get all these sort of photos of I get the Cambridge family, I suppose, on the wall here?
Yeah, we hopefully have a large number of people in the Cambridge family, the Cambridge ecosystem leaders here on the wall. And what's important too is we want to add many more photos on this wall. We have a next generation coming of leaders, of ecosystem builders in Cambridge, and we'd love to add more pictures, more photos. We've added these pictures here of existing leaders to be inspiration to the next generation. And we also have a lot of photos of inventions that have been created here in Cambridge, again, to serve as inspiration to the people that are coming into the space, to help them really be inspired to create the next innovative product for Cambridge and the UK.
You too, one day, listener, could be on this wall.
Yes.
And what a fantastic thing to want to try for. So we've got here the boardroom, haven't we, where we actually, in the other part of this podcast, that's where you'll hear Kathryn and Michael. We're in that boardroom talking about Innovate Cambridge. I love the cubes. It's like these sort of colourful cubes. It's like someone's disintegrated a Rubik's Cube and it's escaping up the wall. Oh, and it's signed by the artist as well, who is Natalia Pigli. Okay, so I hope I've done her justice there. So that is fantastic. So is there anything else you want to tell us about the Glasshouse and the Innovate Cambridge space? We've covered how to become a member. We've covered, the warmth and the welcoming. I love the kind of curved seat over there, facing that beautiful green wall with your neon sign.
The Glasshouse really was developed through the Innovate Cambridge strategy that was developed by Boston Consulting Group with the purpose to accelerate innovation in Cambridge. And we came together with Railpen to deliver the Glasshouse. And the Glasshouse is really serving as a pilot for the larger innovation hub that just this month the Chancellor Rachel Reeves mentioned in a speech.
She did indeed.
And so the Glasshouse is proving to be a pilot to show the value of having a centralized innovation hub for Cambridge and the greater UK. By being so strategically placed near the train station, we not only allow for collaboration in Cambridge, but also collaboration with anybody coming from London, from other parts of the UK, and even internationally. So we're really proving value and trying to we're really proving the value of what the Greater Innovation Hub will do for Cambridge and the UK, similar to what the Engine has done in Boston and what Station F has done in Paris.
Fantastic, and what a fantastic pilot this is. Already so successful, already so warmly received, already so well used by the community here. I cannot wait to see what, the fantastic announcement the Chancellor made, how this scales up, and I look forward to visiting that hub in what is hopefully the not too distant future. Anna, thank you so much for your time this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure to just get a quick look around this space. If you're in Cambridge, if you've come to the station from all parts of the east of England and beyond, come and take a look, come and sort of experience the warmth of the Glasshouse. We talked about Cambridge. Is it the Cambridge Manchester Partnership, Cambridge X Manchester? I'm bound to say, aren't I, that I had an absolute blast going up there talking to Lou Cordwell and John Holden about the partnership from their point of view. And this conversation strikes me much as that one did, in that there are two real strands. One is around the shared values between the two places. I wouldn't chalk that up solely to the fact that they've both got very similar sort of local government structures in a combined authority. I think that's much deeper than that. But I also think that what Lou and John made clear was that there was plenty of room in this partnership. This wasn't necessarily going to be didn't need to be an exclusive dance between the two cities. Where do you think that shared values piece and that exclusivity sort of fit within what you're trying to do, and I'm sure you agree with them.
Yeah, it's a really important part of it. I mean, I think one of the things that, it's funny you say Cambridge X Manchester, because that's how I describe myself. It's the Cambridge Manchester partnership, because I was 9 years in Manchester. But I think the differential here is that both cities here have huge ambition, and actually we're ready to deliver. We're ready to deliver on the government, on the industrial strategy, the life science strategy, the quantum, so that's what we want to do together. So the ambition and the values of inclusive innovation, which I think were really demonstrated when Andy Burnham came down. So probably since you saw Lou, Andy Burnham came down, and Andy and Nick Johnson actually opened this clubhouse. So I think what you first said was, this is not just a unique partnership between Manchester and Cambridge. And I think that's the important thing to highlight here, is that we want to trial stuff together because we have these shared values. But ultimately, and we talk about this all of the time, this is about creating a UK national cluster. It's not about just Manchester and Cambridge. It's about creating a playbook and all of the mechanisms and the frameworks and the toolkits and we'll trial this here and then you try that there and then let's see if it works in both cities and all of that stuff. And the kind of test cycle repeat thing for interventions in both cities, I think then that enables us to then say, okay, let's now apply that more widely. Let's apply that with Birmingham. Let's have a chat to Oxford, which we've already got very close links with, of course. So I think what it does is it opens up the whole of the UK for everybody to be able to work with each other, and then we can present to the world a UK cluster and a UK foreign direct investment opportunity rather than us competing locally for funding and investment. That's the ultimate goal here.
There'll be plenty of people listening to this who think this all sounds fantastic, and most of them I would think will probably have been to various events anyway. So Kathryn, how do people support? You talked about there being members here. How does that work? How do people support Innovate Cambridge? What do they do to share the vision? Because I think you're sort of leaning on an open door with a lot of the vision, because if you take people like the Cambridge United Foundation, I mean, nobody, not even the Cambridge United supporters, would say they're a top flight club. But if you look at the strategies they've put in place to support the community here, that's incredible. worthy of, far superior to many Premier League offerings. So, again, that seems to be very much of Cambridge. So what can people do to help and to further what you're doing?
So there's lots and lots of different ways, depending on whether it's an individual or an organisation. But what I would say is that what we're trying to create here is an innovation vision for Cambridge. So anyone who wants to be part of that innovation team is very welcome. So I think the initial thing is to become a member or contact one of us here. So it might be Claire or it might be myself. I think one thing to bear in mind, though, is that we are very, very open to ideas, but we are actually really in delivery mode at the moment. So we need to be careful and focused and deliver on the projects that we have. So the ideal situation is people are coming in saying, actually, I want to help with that Manchester project, and here is what I could do and deliver on that. Or, okay, I'd really want to be a partner, and we actually have some funds to be able to fund that particular initiative, or we're particularly interested in this. So I would say go and have a look at the slides from the summit on the website, look at the list of initiatives, and maybe align the thought processes towards one of those initiatives, and then come in and have a chat about what you could do to help. Yeah, but we're very open and always open to offers of help.
Right, well, I'll talk to you about Cambridge Manchester in a minute when we've finished. This is a very deliberate pace. This is a very thoughtful drive, but as Kathryn says, you're very much focused on delivering mode and delivery. You did allude again to this earlier, but I'm keen to sort of drill down into when you'll know that you've delivered.
There's a number of ways which we'll sort of keep our finger on the pulse and check whether or not people are still buying into this. And the second they're not, then that's good to know as well. So every year we have a summit, and that is inviting the ecosystem to come and hear what's going on and have their say and be involved. Those are not about me and Kathryn and Dermot and Andy speaking. That's 30 or 40 different people across the ecosystem, sharing their views on it as well. And so as long as, we're 3 for 3 summits that are totally oversubscribed and really well attended, I think we'll know if those start to slow down, and that's up to us to keep that going. And I hope everyone is going to continue to show up. We did share some specific metrics around economic impacts and societal benefit that we're tracking. And so we'll continue to track those and communicate where we are on those. And there will be things that are going to come up over the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years that we haven't thought of yet. And ideally, Innovate Cambridge stays fresh by, yes, deliver, but also respond to what changes, and if we have to change, then we will change, and not just be head down and strong. And so I have a feeling that the ecosystem will tell us whether or not what's happening is still relevant. Yeah. And we will fail if we are just completely head down and trying to do what we think is best for Innovate Cambridge, which I can tell you we won't do. We'll continue to be focused on what we think is best for the ecosystem and listen to what people say.
And we should say there has never been a better time for Innovate Cambridge and the initiative and everybody in the ecosystem. Government eyes are on Cambridge. Government wants to invest in Cambridge. So actually, this is a fantastic opportunity for everybody to deliver for Cambridge, but also to deliver for the UK. And there has never been, I don't think, as good a time as this. We're all aligned. We have 200 organisations, 500 people plus talking about this. We have a joint vision. You saw the Cambridge Innovation story at the summit. I think we want to run with it, basically, to deliver.
I absolutely support what you're doing. I couldn't be more supportive of what you're doing, because I think what really struck me across those 2 events was just the real feeling of mission, the real feeling of inclusivity, that everyone in that room was rowing in behind. Not because they felt they had to, but because they wanted to, because you'd seized upon something really positive. I mean, you've got Prashant Shah from Cambridge Wide Open Day /week. You've got, Cambridge Tech Week, Chris Bruce. That's twice you get mentioned there, Mr. Bruce. And all of them just see the value, the intense value for this place, for this ecosystem. And rightly, they want to support you. I want to support you. Eastern Promise wants to support you, because what you are doing is so fundamental, not just for this city, but for the region, for the country. if I can be grandiose for the world.
Love it.
And I've usually no trouble with being grandiose. So congratulations on your progress thus far. I'm really excited to see where it's going. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules, because as Kathryn as you are, deliver, and for talking to me today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. That was
You're
really
welcome.
fun.
It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
My huge thanks go to Kathryn, to Michael and to Anna Lucia. Eastern Promise will be keeping abreast of Innovate Cambridge's activities and will be bringing you the latest developments. In the meantime, you can find out more about Innovate Cambridge at innovatecambridge.com. And that's it for episode 122 of the Eastern Promise podcast. I have been Mike Rigby, and I will be so again in 2 weeks' time, 14 days, when I'll be learning all about the partnership between Zampler, Cambridge Materials Science Innovation Dynamo, and the mighty Quadram Institute in Norwich. It's a really uplifting story of partnership and the benefits of that proximity. Why 14 days, you ask? Well, it's worth the wait. So join me then, won't you? Until then, bye for now. To hear other episodes of the Eastern Promise podcast and to find out more about what we do, go to our website at easternpromise.org.uk. Eastern Promise is a Priors-Croft production in association with Mills & Reeve, achieving more together.